Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to apologize for the late start due to the technical error. Hi, welcome all the attendees to the PARA webinar. Today's topic of webinar is facilitating the change in organization and communities through human capital development. Please join me to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Chris Bottle. Dr. Chris is the Dean of the Faculty of Global and Community Studies at Capilano University, Canada. He has taught tourism studies in Canada, Austria, and New Zealand, and worked on projects around the world. Chris is the director of the PARA Foundation supported Vietnam Community Tourism Project and a member of PARA's Industry Council and Education Committee. Before I leave the floor to Chris, for any question you may have, please send in by typing in the question box, as all the attendees will be in a listening mode only. All the questions will be answered at the end of the session. So now it's about time. Without any further ado, I will let Mr. Chris take the floor.
Hello there, it's Chris Bottrell here. I'm actually talking to you from Vancouver in BC. It's about 11:15 at night. I'm in my office, so I suspect you're in a much better time zone wherever you are, but nice to have you on the line, and I hope you enjoy the seminar. The idea of the seminar really is to provoke ideas about how to educate a bit differently for the next generation of learners and respond to the unique characteristics that they're bringing to the tourism and hospitality workplace. As mentioned by Monica, I'm with Capilano University and the Faculty of Global and Community Studies. I'll just give you a little brief background. Capilano University has about 8,000 students. We're nestled in the trees on the north shore of Vancouver. We have a rather unique environment to work in. It's beside a very large city, but it's also in a forest. We like to think that we're a bit of a clearing in the forest for individuals on their educational and professional journeys. We have a School of Tourism Management, Outdoor Recreation Management, Global Stewardship, Public Administration. They're all part of this faculty. About 350 students currently study tourism in our faculty. I was interested in presenting on this topic because I think that we have heard a lot about this generation that we've been waiting for, the next gen, and I really did wonder what that meant for tourism and hospitality, and maybe how we have to change our ways of educating a little bit, but also to really see how we can maximize the relationship that we can build between the emerging generation and the industry that we have right now. So, as I say, some say that this is a generation we've been waiting for, so I'd like to really pose a few questions. Why is this? Who are they? What's so special about them? What's motivated them to be different in any way? And what does this mean for the industry, tourism, hospitality, as we move ahead with several compelling and comprehensive global challenges that we're facing? Well, some say it's the me generation. At least Joel Stein from Time magazine did. He's a Gen Xer. He noted that the emerging generation of Gen Ys, those are the ones born somewhere between 1982 and 83 and 1996, have a rate of narcissistic personality disorder that's nearly 3 times higher than the generation 65 or older. Others say that they're consumed by their own image, and I suspect you've all seen this photo or something along these lines of someone taking a picture of themselves and immediately posting it to Facebook. As Danny Rubin said in the Huffington Post on May 23rd, just a few weeks ago, you're damn right it's all about me. But it's smart, not selfish. If millennials are going to take the reins one day, we need to look inward and use our 20s to understand our core identity. He noted actually that with every gig he plays in his professional evolution, he's honed his interest and got closer to the role he's meant to play. He says, be selfish in a productive and meaningful way. It's not what's in it for me, it's what can this world teach me to define who I am and and to help prepare me as I move forward. Now, this is an interesting critique as it acknowledges the generation is relatively narcissistic, but that with mutual support and an understanding and supportive environment, the workplace, and I would extend the education training system, we can actually achieve positive things. This generation is not afraid to try and is not afraid to change, and those are not bad things. So in essence, it's a generation that's come of age, shaped by this unprecedented revolution in technology from dramatic events. Some people call them the Gen Me's, the Gen Y's, the Gen Next. There are common definitions, but the notion that's actually reflected in Patter's positioning of Next Gen seems to resonate best. These are individuals that come with significant skills in technology, network building, crowdsourcing, instant and evolving communications. They have self-confidence, a sense of entitlement, but they multitask. In the North American context especially, they have the benefit of what a gentleman by name of Fred Bonner from Rutgers University described as helicopter parents hovering reassuringly above them. The millennial characteristics vary by region depending on socioeconomic conditions, but there are some common traits. You've probably heard about Gen Zs or Gen Zs perhaps. It's a term yet to really gain full traction. It refers to the generation born sometime after 1996. Now, many members of Gen Z are highly connected. They've lived with their mobile phones and everything else. I know many families that have individuals that had no connection to internet, and the older kids and the younger kids have grown up completely with that world. So we're even seeing differences of generation characteristics within families. What we do know is they have enormously strong thumbs. So we'll group them in the meantime with the Gen Ys, the next gens. So maybe this is what we have to work with. Self-confidence, parental and or financial support, freedom of thought, and maybe some really good air guitar skills too. So what's notable about this emerging generation is recognizing there are compelling issues to address in this rapidly changing world. This is maybe an odd-looking photo to you. These students are from our program at Capilano, and they are, of course, hugging a tree. Well, why? When you go to nature, you can observe with all your senses, your eyes, the smell, the sound, the taste, touch. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. The students are encouraged to try and connect with this tree, spend some time thinking about what the 700 or 800 years of its existence have been like. What sustained it, what it survived, what its future is, and what we can do to contribute to a healthy future. It does seem a bit odd, but it's remarkably effective. In some cases, students will hug the tree for more than an hour. And we don't have any snakes and spiders here, so that's kind of a good thing too. But it's an interesting exercise, and it's what our generation that we're finding is really interested in trying to connect with. The other strength this generation brings is a very strange kind of togetherness, and it's strange because the social network world has been criticized for fostering fake friendships. But what the social network environment does do is provide a platform for communicating on issues of common interest. And individuals can come together easily. In some cases, this can lead to a bond or common interest to take action. What we're recognizing is that the youth of today want positive change. They want to be change makers. They can, as this image from Northeast Indiana project called Millennial 2020 illustrates, unite, have a voice, and work toward better processes, actions, and outcomes. When we talk to students here about these ideas of change making, they really get it. They say, "Yep, let's do it." So, what's motivating our next generation toward change? I just want to take a short moment, couple of moments to just look at this because I think it's important because it actually changes the way they behave. Well, I think there are many things. So first, there's a growing global consciousness, a recognition that social innovation is needed at local to global scale and that there are common bonds from youth in Tanzania, Vietnam, Paraguay, China, India, New Zealand, Canada, you name it, wherever you can think of. It's abundantly clear that there's one planet, one global ecosystem, and one polar ice cap, at least for now. No, there's two for now. One of the things that has gained the attention of citizens around the world is this income disparity between the affluent and others on the planet. It's just noted in a Canada newspaper just the other day, that's very quote here, that severe income inequality is the biggest risk to the global economy and could hurt the sustainability of economic growth. Why? Because individuals don't feel they have an opportunity if they feel that working hard and educating themselves will not result in improvement. Now, this webinar is not seeking to take a position on income disparity or anything like that, but it is a good illustration that activism can expand rapidly and bring issues to the forefront of global consciousness. This was not really quite the case a few years ago. Let's look at the Occupy movement. According to the Guardian newspaper, there's now been 900 protests in 951 cities in 82 countries, all illustrated on this map. Notably, most of these are in North America and Europe, with relatively few in Asia in comparison. Now, why? The Occupy movement identifies a range of things, one of which is during the economic expansion between 2002 and 2007, the income gap of the top 1% grew 10 times faster than the income of the bottom 90%. There's many illustrations of data that they use, but the point of this is just to illustrate that that there is a way, and there's a new way of people coming together, and it's a slightly different structure to activism. So many Occupy protests were, of course, tended by youth, joining others to express their concern, not solely youth, but that was one group. But what's interesting, I think, is that with this wave of protests, that the approach is different. Up to as Tali Hautuka, she's a geographer from Israel and an author, noted that up to the 1990s, protests tend to be organized around a pyramid structure with centralized leadership. As much effort went into planning as into the protest itself. Now, protests are organized more like a network. It's far more informal. The event is often very immediate. What I would suggest is there's a pattern in here somewhere that indicates social organization activism are changing, that the action, like communication, is immediate, and the capacity for profound change with an appropriate rallying point is very high. This, at least in part, is the social environment of the next generation, that the next generation, I should say, are emerging from. So their ability to make change is perhaps more profound than ever. But change is not just about activism, it's about strategy, direction, and goals, and perhaps this is why a generation can achieve a great deal, this generation, but they really can't do it on their own. The rhetoric around change, of course, was represented in the Obama campaign, which was heard around the globe. So we've heard this for a while. Of course, other compelling challenges on the planet are there, and they are no more obvious than climate change. We all know that we're inching alarmingly closer toward the 2% increase, which is, we've been warned by the IPCC and others, that is a threshold which will see irreversible implications for ecological systems. This is a picture of the Larsen B ice shelf, which collapsed back in 2002. Now, we've been showing our students at Capilano this for years. It was only recently featured on Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. Well, that was 97, but it really reached the public domain. What's remarkable, and just in case you weren't aware, what happened in this case is the shelf broke away, and it took only 2 months to do this, and off the Antarctic ice mass, and the equivalent of 12 trillion 10-kilogram bags of ice that you buy at the local supermarket just peeled off this ice shelf. And barely anyone took any real notice. They've been shocked by this for years, the students at least, but the reasons for the ice shelf breakaway have only really become part of the global consciousness of late. But we're seeing it more and more. In March 2007, a storm in Durban, South Africa, very unique. As you can see, it's ripping away the coastal area. And what's perhaps what I find interesting of all this, people on the front there, sitting outside the Wimpy Bar, are still having their breakfast while all these storm surges are carrying on. This was given to me by some colleagues down in the city of Durban. Of course, one of the more recent episodes was Hurricane Sandy. This is the largest Atlantic hurricane on record, with winds spanning 1,100 miles. Of course, it happened just last November with significant damage. In fact, there are estimates that they reached, the current estimate is that the damage has reached 68 billion, and 286 people were killed along the path of the storm in 7 different countries. The fact that this kind of radical weather pattern is existing is just raising alarm, and future generations, of course, are going to be impacted significantly by these. This, by the way, is a picture of a pier and a roller coaster that got peeled off and ended in the water. The outcomes of Hurricane Sandy produced one positive result. Even the Bloomberg press announced that the debate over the science of climate change was over. It's here, and stop ignoring it. Even today, in actual fact this afternoon, as I was doing final preparations of this webinar, an article came up on Google News from the Winnipeg Free Press, of all places, and the headline was, "Obama opens climate change drive, bypassing Congress and urging action before it's too late." It walked into the kitchen and it was on the news as well. So maybe there's hope, but it's not the only option. And just in case my friend Perry Hobson is listening, and I'm sure many of you know him, I thought I would pose this as a possible solution for climate change as well. Well, I'm a New Zealander, so hopefully that gives me some license. Okay, moving on. So in tourism, of course, we know that the implications of our actions are presenting challenges. The old business of polluting travel needs to change. We know that, and we're working on it. But most importantly, Generation Next will demand it, and we need to work with them to achieve it. As one of my students said a little while ago to me, we want to contribute to positive change in the environment, but we don't see why we should miss out on the opportunities and experience that those before us have had. But we're getting this kind of media coverage. Not good for the industry. It'll be up to the next generation to help us with some very compelling challenges. We have this challenge where increased travel is forecast, for a 4-time increase up to 2020, but we've got to reduce emissions 25% in that same time frame just to balance that increase out. So there's some challenges ahead. And it's not just in the airline industry. It's in all areas of the tourism industry. We need better technologies and stronger standards of operation. And this is not just an observation. It's just had to do photos I took while I was sitting in Juneau. We need to ensure the great places in the world are seen in an environmentally responsible way, and including maybe recycling these temporary raincoats as we sail underneath the grandeur of the Niagara Falls. Now this is a prank photo, and as you can tell from the way the kid is sitting on the bonnet of this car, that maybe this car is not actually doing 99 kilometers an hour in a 35k zone. But the image kind of sums up our challenges with regard to climate change, and maybe it sort of demonstrates we've got to form a new relationship as well. The thing is, as you can probably tell, another car is flying past this one, probably, I suspect, doing 99 k's, and they just got their kid to sit on the bonnet. But the fact is that we do have our foot on the gas, and we are doing 99k in a 35k zone, and we need to move our kids off the bonnet, and this, unfortunately, is no prank. So, these kids on the bonnet, who are they? As I mentioned before, they are connected, technologically savvy, instant action generation. Their devices have created an environment where millennials are almost always on. I know that's the case with my daughter, that's for sure. She's 16 and that phone is gripped to her hand. They engage in real-time mobile activities all the time, and they have an expressive nature and eagerness to share. But what's really important, especially from an education standpoint, is they have an unparalleled access to information. They've created a need for a new learning environment because the learning environment they've entered into is in constant change. I guess Einstein saw this coming. You may have seen this before, but I think it's worth just taking a look at again. So a student commented to Albert Einstein, who was supervising an exam at Princeton University, "Excuse me, Dr. Einstein, but there must be a mistake. The questions are the same as in last year's exam." And Einstein's reply was, "That's all right. You see, all the answers have changed." The education system needs to change to meet the needs and the changes in our learners. They're bored. They have lots on the go. They have debt, and they don't want the stage on the stage anymore. They get information faster than the professor, and they can contribute to stronger outcomes. Our learning systems should no longer be based on this model originally originated from the University of Bologna back in 1088, but now they need to be more on a participatory, guide by the side style of learning. So the current situation from an education standpoint, aligning with education and meeting with the needs of this next generation may seem a little bleak, but it actually provides educators with an opportunity to evaluate the way things have been done in the past and start to make bold changes for the future. Now, this is not a webinar all about education. I'll get to how this connection can exist in a moment, but I just wanted to paint the picture a little bit for you as we got there of where the change needs to take place and why. So it's a time for really a reassessment of how we do our educating, and it's a time for really exploring better ways to work together. What the suggestion is that we move more to a transformative style of education. This is one that's engaged, has service learning in it. I'll explain that so we can move through some illustrations. It's participatory, community-based, grounded in social justice, social innovation, critical thinking-based, student-centered, but built on relationships. So we need to rethink how we're going about our education, and we need to know work together as an industry, a sector, and as educators to get there and to maximize the human capital of this and of our industry. So this was the old approach, but this is what the new world wants. For the young people, they want to change the world. They want to do things like microfinance. They want to have students teaching students and students teaching teachers. They want to have leadership, service entrepreneurship, have mentors and advisors. They want a network of support. Okay, I'm an educator, an academic a little bit, so here's your model. But this is drawn from from an article by Dyson in the Journal of Transformational Education, and it's a transformational model of teacher education, simplified down a bit. In essence, he suggests that first, that from a teaching perspective, we have to understand ourselves and understand that we have a responsibility and choice, and so this is where notions of empathy to come out about the environment that we're working with, and responsibility. We need to build relationships, so our social domain needs to expand. We need to change the ecosystem of education and create an interdependent environment between between educators and between industry. We need some systemic change within this, where we use enhanced use of technology, problem solving, project-based learning, service learning, and things like that. And then ultimately we get this landscape of transformation. And as tourism, in the form of tourism education, aligned with our industry, our human capital is enhanced. The people that work within this industry, their skills and ability are enhanced because we have this much more cohesive landscape of transformational education where everyone's working together. So it takes some work, but we're going to get there. First, it comes with engaging. So, as I mentioned, project-based, meaningful work for students, challenging, diverse, introspective, reciprocal, benefits for both, relevant, motivating, collaborative. The list goes on. You can see all the words on the screen. But those all help us figure out, what do we need to make a more engaging environment. Now, this isn't North American centric. It's both. It's hopefully a global perspective. In fact, this study was done by an organization called Talent Smoothie. They conducted a survey. It was about 3,000 people participated in it, and a reasonably large sample. And what they noticed is that in both Asia and non-Asia, that's principally the UK, but also other North America and Europe, that in both Asia and the rest of the world, that we needed opportunities that excited this generation. They needed a chance to learn and develop. They needed to have a job aligned with their talents. Of course, they wanted more pay. I thought what was particularly interesting is they wanted to have the opportunity to have a mentor at work. So although we have this, maybe this narcissistic new generation, perhaps, as some have referred to it, they don't want to do it on their own. We need to work together, and mentors are perhaps one of the key ways to do this. So they want to be trusted, and they want to be able to contribute, and I think that it's fair to say that they're concerned about change, and change that may happen both within their organization, but also change that might happen within their industry. So they're ready to do that. So they have a range of abilities. There's a lot of literature out there which is guiding us in these directions, but we also know it personally, and I'm going to share those examples with you momentarily. But the new generation abilities are that they believe in the power of an idea. They are active. They can activate. Technology is something to explore, not to learn and to figure out. Something to explore. It's a difference. They can create a network. They can communicate instantly. They can crowdsource. If you don't mind, I'll just use one illustration. My daughter, again, should have been studying for an exam a few weeks ago. I find out in the morning that she had decided instead to start a Twitter account selecting random lines from Lady Gaga songs. And by the morning, she had, no, not quite the morning, by the next day, she had 600 followers on her Twitter feed, including Lady Gaga's father. So, new generation they need cooperation, they need guidance, they need an acceptance of their skill set, they need some certain freedoms to choose, to create, to connect. And what they really need is principled actions of the employers. This is something which is resonating a lot in the media and on any source that addresses these issues. 6 ways that Gen Y will transform the workplace are in things like more women in leadership roles, and that's because more women are in education and doing better. Less office space, amongst other dynamics. Less office space, not more. I think, as you probably know, the founder of Facebook, his office is right in amongst everybody else. It's not the corner office anymore. It's get together, work, create, change the rules. It's not about work-life balance. It's about blending your work and your life. It's goodbye to email and meetings, which may not be something that we would particularly dislike. And it's about a results-only work environment, regular, immediate, and socially engaged. Okay, so that's enough about the background. Let's just get on to some examples here. So there's my friend Nigel. He would say, let's get cracking. I don't know if you've ever been to Joe's Crab Shack in San Diego, but it's fantastic. First, we're going to look at a simple way of engaging learners meaningfully. This is a project that we started at Capilano University. Just use it as an illustration. I've got others from other places. This is a hallway conversation between a few of us and led by somebody named Dr. Joe Kelly. We actually wrote an article about this, and it was in the Compass magazine in November, December 2012. So if you're interested, you can take a look there. We just said, let's do something that inspires the students, engages industry, has a touch of idealism thrown in, and actually makes a difference. So it really just started as an idea, but it quickly spread. First of all, it was a project. Then it was a course. Then it was a course in several of our programs because the students loved it so much because they loved to actually make a difference. And then we went provincial. And we decided with an organisation called Link BC, which is also housed here at Capilano University, but is an organisation that links all the tourism educators around British Columbia. There's 22 of us, schools and universities that offer tourism education here. We started this competition, and we actually had to stop the addition of sponsors because we ended up where their logos were almost getting too small to see. But it really is a fantastic illustration of industry wanting to work with educators to get more engaging work environment and really maximize the skills of this generation in the workplace. So as you can see, there's about 17 sponsors on this page, and there's 14 schools that are part of the competition. We gave them a range, or we set through this competition, we were able to set up a range of terrific prizes, almost an embarrassment of riches. The industry was so keen to participate in this project and make sure that students had engaging learning experiences and that they were recognized for this. There's several $1,000s worth of prizes were actually provided. So there's a good incentive for the students as well. So we started off with a whole range of categories, and then we said what the prizes were. We provided details, and we gave project ideas, and off they went. In the first year, and I'll just refer to that for a moment, here's a couple of examples. One is called Strive for 225. Can you spare what they can eat or wear? We need 225 items of non-perishable food and clothing. Please donate. Really simple stuff. But it was good. Away they went, and they managed to do that, and they felt good about it, and they got engaged and did good things. Now this poster is about donating your unwanted genes to the Vancouver safe houses. Now, what actually happened what happens is that the safe houses and those areas they get a lot of clothing donations, but nobody wants to give up their jeans. They wear them until they're completely ruined. So the students managed to go out there and collect jeans and submit them, and there was a range of other things as well. But they got the local paper very keen to advertise this. We ended up with the students just feeling very good about their experience, industry being engaged and connected, and good outcomes all around. The most important part perhaps about this project was that we had to measure the outcomes. And this is just in 2010. This is just one class, 38 students, 13 projects, involved 1,300 participants. We conserved 4,200 kilograms of CO2, 1.3 million litres of water, 22.5 hectares of natural land, and 30 trees. Can you imagine what positive things would result if we were able to take this whole notion globally, and just how positive and engaged an experience that would be for everyone. Last year, the winner was something called Where to Start, and they simply supported collecting nice clothes and helping women dress and prepare for job interviews with remarkable success. I'll just skip on this one here. It's a bit too much detail. So these are images now of the events the event that we staged, and this is where industry people come together with students. They celebrate the success of the project. The students are aligned here with a person named Andrew Stegman on the left. He's a representative of Mount Equipment Co-op. Students are enormously proud of their prize that they received from the co-op for participating in this project. And again, everybody just really feels good about the experience. This is Grant Mackay. He's our Deputy Minister for Tourism in British Columbia, just to illustrate the level of support that we had from government to industry and through to education institutions. It just is a program that really seems to click. So where do we go with all of this? Well, we've got this challenge because we're always talking about development of the industry, development of this, development of our human capital. But it really is, as Friedman suggests, one of the more slippery terms on our tongue. We don't really know what development means. We have to be conscious of what kind of development we're doing. One thing that has come to light for ourselves recently, something I wanted to share with you, is this is what's happening in terms of really a movement around social entrepreneurship. Now, PATA just a few years ago had a social entrepreneurship challenge, terrific outcomes. Some of the competition that was staged, the videos are on the website. There's been some terrific outcomes there. But this is, I think, a movement which is really just at its early stages. So the social entrepreneurship, should I say, is an individual who applies business and management skills to tackle chronic societal problems with sustainable solutions. Good idea, right? It's as David Bornstein from the Shoki organization suggests, it's individuals that are social entrepreneurs, are path breakers. They combine visionary, real-world problem-solving creativity, strong moral fiber, and are totally possessed by their vision of change. Shoka is an organization that was started in 1980 by Bill Drayton and a group of others, and it's there's about 3,000 social entrepreneurs globally which are connected with this organization. As Bill Drayton suggests, if you want to be a social entrepreneur, just find comfort in change, make it happen, and that's what's happening. To put it in an academic context again, what we really see is that, I think this is the best illustrative, so hopefully it's clear on your screen, but basically you can look at it as a bit of a zone, and a zone where you have different levels of business practice, which if you have profit and you have support and you have direct action for social transformation, then you actually get into this region of social transformation within social entrepreneurship. Now, the work that we've been doing in Vietnam, we think is really in this kind of zone, and I'm going to explain that as we move on in the seminar. And I know I've only got about 15 minutes left at the most, given we started a bit late, but hopefully you'll bear with me and we'll be done by 22. So, recently I attended a forum on social entrepreneurship at Middlebury in Vermont. We sat around and we discussed a range of ideas. Excuse me a minute. There's a range of terrific initiatives going on around the globe. And one that I think is worth, if you're interested, looking at, is Brown University, the Swearer Center for Public Service, is really one of the landmark organizations to get social entrepreneurship embedded in education and bring a whole bunch of partners together and really achieve a supportive learning environment. So there is a lot of activity afoot. Ashoka have a Changemakers Challenge where you grow your innovation, fund your innovation, and join the dialogue. And if you go online, you can look at a range of different projects around the world. I think there's 790 of them, where youth and organizations and non-profits and profits are working together to make positive change. Worth a look. At Capilano, we have one more, a little interesting illustration to show you. It's a company called Beyond Boarding, but I think it captures the essence of what this next generation is all about. Tamo in the background there is a student from our Global Stewardship Program, and he and his partners put together this company called Beyond Boarding. Now, what they do is they travel, they love snowboarding, and they travel, but on their path of their travels, they're making positive change. One illustration is a floating garden project they have in Peru. And what they're doing there is gaining funds through crowdsourcing and putting that money into helping locals build a floating garden raft. It's just one project of several they're doing, but you can see some pictures here of what they're up to. So they're helping. Their goal is to help at-risk students, children, and invest in the communities that they're traveling through and being part of. Now, this one I don't know so much about, I'll be honest with you, but I know that Powder Foundation support it, and I have only simply, on the recommendation of others, taken a look. But the Salabai Hotel School in Cambodia is another example of social enterprise supported by a range of different groups and with outcomes of training individuals in Cambodia for entering into the workforce. Where we've worked a fair bit of late is in Vietnam. First of all, I actually said to the folks at this Middlebury forum, if I want to use an example of a social enterprise, what would you suggest for this webinar that we're involved in right now? And somebody said, well, what about Koto? And that was exactly the one that I had in mind. If you haven't been there, and I know many people have, there's a restaurant in Hanoi and one in Ho Chi Minh City. Koto stands for No One Teach One. And Jimmy Pham is a Vietnamese Australian, and 10 years ago he had this idea of opening up a training centre and hospitality in Hanoi, giving disadvantaged youth the possibility to learn and strive for positive things in their lives. this is a terrific restaurant. If you go to Hanoi, I hope you visit it, and I'm sure you know about it if you've been there. Great food, but the key here is that disadvantaged youth have found their way to a much more prosperous endeavour by being part of this organisation, and they've trained over 400 youth now and working in the hospitality sector. Now, if you'll bear with me, you may know about this project, but I do want to share this a little bit too to bring to close this seminar, and then we'll have to really have a look at some final thoughts on how we can capture this next generation and what this means moving ahead in terms of human capital development in the tourism industry. We have this project in Vietnam. There's some. We've had the good fortune to be supported on this by the Patta Foundation for the last 3 years. We have some remarkably supportive individuals, and we're enormously grateful for this partnership which is involved. There is one logo which is not on this slide, and I apologize for that, and that's the Hanoi Open University, because this is a true partnership in Vietnam, Canada, and the communities up in Vietnam, up in Sapa region, and Patta Foundation and all the partners and those that have contributed to the project. Lovely village nestled in the mountains. The people there are just extraordinary. They have this amazing talent for their art of brocades, and what they can produce is just beyond belief. They spend many days and hours working on these projects, on their art. But what's an added element of this project is that we had the good fortune to work with Hanoi Open University, and together with Hanoi Open University and with the community of Ta Phin, Ta Van, and now Lao Chai, we've all grown together, and the students and the faculty that have all been involved in this project have just become much enriched for having participated in it. What happened is when we came to this project, the village really didn't have any tourists coming to it, and then after some time, this is the village of Ta Phin, after some time tourists started showing up, so we assisted with some early development of products, but we were unable to continue, but the tourists kept coming. But then the challenges started to emerge in the village, particularly of street selling and various other things, and this is a common challenge in the Sapa region. But what we were able to do is go back to the village with the support of Patta Foundation and really try to build sustainable partnerships. This is Nok Ang. Ms. Nok Ang, she's the Vice Dean of Tourism at Hanoi Open University, and she is absolute gem, and she knows this the village so well, and through our partnership we've managed to help and work with the village to get some really positive outcomes in terms of organizing for tourism. This is Mei Lai, and this is Jace, and they are very proud, or Mei Lai is very proud of a new sign. Jace is a student in our program, and he's been back to the village twice, and his whole career is changed as a result of his experiences of working in the village. Remarkable learning experience, engaged learning experience, and we've had terrific outcomes. Here's Nok Ang teaching one of the communities. Now, where we've really had a turning point in this project is that very recently we traveled into Hanoi, and we are now reached the point where the ladies in the village are able to go to Hanoi and start to develop business partnerships. And our job is to make ourselves redundant and move out of the village as quickly as possible, but in the best way possible. We're very fortunate. They went into Hanoi and they stayed at the oh goodness me, I've drawn a blank. They stayed at a wonderfully, a beautiful hotel, and it'll come to me in a minute, excuse me, in Hanoi, and we It was a unique experience. But the point of this exercise was really to get to build relationships with the ladies and with appropriate tour operators. And what they did is they showcased their products. They built business partnerships and relationships with the right kinds of business organizations, notably Footprint Travel has been a long-time supporter of this project in Hanoi. And Buffalo Tours had a member as well, another terrific tour company where we wanted to build a really strong relationship built on mutual trust and quality product. And that relationship has grown. The ladies went for the first time ever into a mall, experienced the massage chairs for the first time, which is good fun. And our students took them around the town, met with organizations, tour companies, and really taught the tourists how to be taught in fact the village business owners from Tiffin how to be tourists themselves. They'd never had that experience themselves. We continued with our training, and we ended up having markets in hotels in Hanoi. So, what's next? The point of this seminar was really to raise ideas, thinking, and so on around the next generation of tourism, of individuals that are going to come into the tourism industry. It's about how to maximize human capital. But we don't look at human capital as a commodity. We look at human capital as relationships. The relationship that is built right now with the next generation, and understanding the next generation, and making sure that the educational experience is compelling, engaging, and appropriate for this new generation of learners, whether they are in the United States, Canada, the UK, Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, or Vietnam or Malaysia. The issues are the same. It is a generation that is digitally savvy, that has access to information immediately, that needs to change the way we conduct our business because of the range of compelling issues which are emerging and relevant to this next generation on a global level. We need to be empathetic to the challenges that are faced, and we need to act responsibly as an industry and as educators, and to work with this next generation in the right way. This is through engaged, meaningful learning, where we are nowhere near enough in terms of our relationship with industry. There needs to be a true partnership in education. We can do this through solution-based learning, and where we work with problems in industry and we try to help come up with creative solutions. But the students really get real-world learning experiences. That we build networks, the right kinds of networks. We understand what it is to have a cluster of common interest, and then how to build the relationship within that cluster so that a network is created through formal and informal relationships. What's very interesting, and to me, is that the next generation cannot do it on its own. It requires mentorship, and it requires an understanding and a partnership from both the established systems of government and industry with the students that are emerging into this industry and the education environments that they work in. And that all these challenges and initiatives and projects that can take place can be linked to social entrepreneurship perhaps, but they certainly can be linked to the notion of social innovation, whereby we look to create better outcomes, perhaps greater equity, but certainly environmentally and culturally responsible approaches to development. So they need to happen at a local to global scale. So that's nearing the end of my webinar. I hope you appreciated it. I hope that there's something that in here was of thought-provoking or useful to you. And as you can see, we're all in this together, and we have to make our best efforts moving forward. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Okay, yeah, so now we are at the question and answer session. I hope that we do receive a question. Please allow me to repeat once again that for any question you have, please send in by typing in the question box. Okay, Dr. Chris, while we are waiting, would you like to add on any comment or anything else to the session, or anything like update or something?
Sorry, anything like?
Like maybe another further comment that is related to the webinar. Maybe it's not in your slide, but you would like to add on or anything like that.
No, I don't have any more to add at the moment, but I do think that this is a dialogue that I would really love to see continue in the PADA domain, that we have so many terrific education partners, so many industry partners, so many government partners. I think that PADA is an extraordinary venue for us to explore how we can build these very strong, meaningful relationships with educators, industry, and government, and showcase some extraordinary learning experiences which lead to better outcomes for our industry. So I would certainly love to continue the dialogue on how we achieve that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. We are waiting.
And the last thing I'll add is that while I was doing this seminar, so now closing in on midnight, suddenly my door started rattling, and I was just about leapt out of my skin halfway through this webinar. So anyway, I think it was just the security guys. So
Okay.
Sorry if that I lost track there for a moment.
Yeah, the voice got a little bit crashed in between, but it was fine. Okay, and we really appreciate your contribution at midnight in your country for all of us here, because it's only daytime in Bangkok, and I'm so sure in the Asia side.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't received any question, Dr. Chris. So to the audience, so far we haven't received any question, but after the end of the session, in case if you have any question, you can just write to us at webinar@pata.org. All the question will be answered. And this session, you can find the recorded video up online. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Chris?
Yes.
So it's
Yes,
time.
we'll make
How
sure
about
that's
we
loaded
wrapping
up.
up? Because no one, we didn't receive any question. So I'm pretty sure that everyone is clear.
No problem. Well, I'd just like to say thank you for listening in, and I hope to see you at some event in the future.
Sure. And we would love to. Yeah. So wrapping up today's session, thank you to our speaker, Dr. Chris, for your great contribution at midnight, again, I would say. And also thank you to our attendees for your kind attention. I hope that everyone enjoyed the session today. So we look forward to welcome you all again. Till then, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.